Exhibit 1 for the existence of something more. When I was a kid, I had prophetic dreams about my grandmother. I had a dream the night before her first heart attack, and I had a dream before she was diagnosed with cancer. A year after she died, I had a vivid dream where we took one last walk around our hometown as the floodwaters were rising around us. I walked us to the water's edge, and I hugged her goodbye, and she smelled just like her. And then she was gone. Christmas night, 2012, was the worst. I know, get ready. I didn't think it was possible to feel so alone. I'd recently experienced a traumatic heartbreak with my parents. The boyfriend who'd helped me through it had just broken up with me. I was still recovering from a years-long post-viral chronic fatigue syndrome, a sort of long COVID before long COVID, that had left me in a state of numbed survival mode. And I had just spent Christmas Day at work at the autism school with the boys who didn't go home for the holidays. And having returned back to crash at the rural apartment I still awkwardly shared with my ex, I realized we hadn't exchanged Christmas schedules because he was arriving as well, along with his future husband. And as they settled in to exchange gifts in the living room that had once been ours, I politely retreated to the guest room with the cats. I have never been prone to self-pity, but that night I knew real existential loneliness. I felt lost, I felt stuck, I felt too sick, too strange, too hard to love, and worst of all, I didn't even know if I cared anymore. A couple weeks later, it all became literal. My ex was away and I was alone at our place in the woods, and my car was buried in snow. And I needed to get to work, otherwise they'd be understaffed and out of compliance. But no matter how hard I dug, the car wouldn't budge. And I was exhausted. And with the exertion and my health history, I knew I was risking a relapse, so I gave up. I left the car abandoned up the long driveway. So what? Who cared? My worry about work started to feel absurd. I was getting angry. I had just spent 4 years sick and fatigued and awful for every minute of every night and day without the relief, and pretty much the entire time no one was able to understand or diagnose or really even help. And I'd made the best of it. I'd gotten through the worst of it pretty much on my own. And now what? Just more crap? I was done. I snapped out of survival mode and I plunged into the bad place. I went inside, I fed the cats, and I crumpled dramatically to the floor. It was time for my pity party at last. From the floor, I could see my bookshelf with all my plays. I'd always wanted to be a writer, a playwright. Now who cared? There's Streetcar Named Desire, Tennessee Williams. There's Faith Healer, Brian Friel. There's Angels in America, Tony Kushner. There's Waiting for Godot. I fucking hated Samuel Beckett. I must go on, I can't go on. Make up your mind, assholes. Fuck him. Yeah, this was my tantrum, and I was gonna project on any depressed writer in my line of sight. It was my all is lost, the years-long culmination of a dark night of the soul, and I was gonna make a scene of it, even all by myself. Except I wasn't really all by myself. The cats were with me, and I had my late grandmother, sort of. I'd always felt most drawn to my Nana Rose, who, when she was alive, would make eye contact across a crowded family gathering. We'd nod, we'd sneak out. She'd drive me to her place, we'd watch Larry King and eat pizzelles and feel the opposite of alone. Was she still watching over me? Could she read my mind? I don't know. Maybe. I'd learned the hard way to remain open to impossibility. I had to learn it in my long illness just to get through it. After the first year, I'd lost any real hope, but to get through each day, I played a little game where I'd pretend to have hope. And over time, I felt a little better, where I could think and feel and make decisions and act. Act as if ye have faith, and faith shall be given to you. Now, that's not from the homophobic Bible. It's from Leo McGarry on the West Wing, quoting Paul Newman in The Verdict. So I could just barely believe it. So down there on the floor, I decided to pretend like things really weren't that bad. In fact, I decided to weigh some evidence for hope. Why not? Who cared? Exhibit 1 for the existence of something more. When I was a kid, I had prophetic dreams about my grandmother. I had a dream the night before her first heart attack, and I had a dream before she was diagnosed with cancer. A year after she died, I had a vivid dream where we took one last walk around our hometown as the floodwaters were rising around us. I walked us to the water's edge, and I hugged her goodbye, and she smelled just like her. And then she was gone. I guess that's the only exhibit. But in a foxhole, you only need one. So down on the floor, I decided to act as if she could hear me. I got on my knees. I had never genuinely prayed on my knees before, but I was technically a confirmed Catholic. I had chosen the name Jude, my favorite Beatles song and my grandmother's favorite saint, the patron saint of hopeless cases. It was perfect. And so I thought of church, and I put my hands together, and in desperation I pled, Hail Mary, full of grace. Fuck. I'd forgotten the rest. So I worked a workaround, and I navigated a direct appeal. Nana, St. Jude, I don't know if you can hear me, and even if you could, I have no idea what you could possibly do from there. But I need help. I'm stuck. I need to get to work, and then I need to get to wherever I'm going next. I love you. I miss you. Please help. Amen. And then I sort of breathed out and surrendered to whatever the hell I thought might happen next. Time is strange in memory, but I remember it as happening within a minute. And it doesn't even make sense because we really were out in the middle of nowhere. But there was a knock at the door. I opened it. There was a man and a little boy. I had never seen them before, and I can't really remember their faces, but I remember how they made me feel. The boy there made it feel safe. And I don't remember the man's exact words, but he conveyed that he had a truck with a chain, and did I somehow need assistance? And I nodded dumbly and walked them up the long driveway, and they hooked the chain to my car, pulled me out of the snow, and drove off. And as I was driving to work, I realized that even if no one else ever believed me, this had happened. And it was the strangest, most beautiful coincidence of my life. And I decided it had meaning. And I felt new energy. I felt gratitude. And I said out loud to my grandmother, to St. Jude, to everyone, just in case they were listening, thank you. And my whole body was overcome with chills, with goosebumps, with love. It felt like a hug, and then it faded. But it was enough. I knew who cared. I did.